Okay, it seems like it's recording. So this is the plan. Now, thanks to Bernie, he had a great idea to put this on, to do the log digitally. So I think that pretty much everybody that I see on right now, you have sent me an email or essay on Gmail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create a document and I'm going to share it with your Gmail account that I already have, which is going to be that same log that I emailed you basically, just with like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But on it, you'll be able to just put in what you're doing, kind of like live. We'll be able to just share the document rather than you trying to print it. Especially since we're not coming back together in 2 weeks, that'd be a major document for you to maintain written. And also, it'll just be able to be updated every day, especially if you're already using Khan Academy or using Aztec. So basically, if you're online already, it's going to be easy just to open up Gmail or Google Docs as well and just put in, I was typing for 30 minutes. I was, reading for 30 minutes. Now, what is important is you have a lot of flexibility. Like we said last week, I loaded some articles in, so that would count for social studies, science. I can give you essays and stuff like that. But you also, I of course still trust you all. I don't think you're gonna say, I was typing for 35 hours. So what I'm saying is whatever else that you're actually doing, reading, typing, working on multiplication, just put that you did that for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Speed reading, all of those things are still very valid, but they don't have, we're not in a classroom for them. So that's the thing that you have to log yourself on this form. But I do think it's going to be easier to do it online, especially for the people who already have sent me things on Google Docs. So I know that you have it. If for some reason you don't have Google Docs, you can choose to still make a spreadsheet, or I'm going to try to figure out a way that you can still do it on the computer, basically, so that you don't have to worry about doing it on paper. So I think everybody here is good with that. So how are you?
All right.
All right.
Thanks for joining us.
Finally.
I'm happy to see somebody new made it into Zoom. Welcome. We're still creating a name for our virtual class. Hey, is that Alicia? Another person who made it in. I'm going to start sharing the screen now. So we are going to do complementary and supplementary angles. And typically we're going to do Khan Academy first, but I just loaded that in there. So you can do it after this, or you can do it tomorrow morning and ask any questions. But what I'm going to share with you is the Math is Fun page. So after we get off of this class, you can text me your screenshots of the 2 quizzes that we go over, and that will count for an additional 20 minutes. So what we're saying is, just like we did in class, if it's 10 questions, our goal is 1 minute per question. Now, some of the times as we move to things that are beyond the foundational level, I'm gonna say, I know that this quiz is a challenge, like we have used Math is Fun before, and they sometimes say that it is advanced page. So if that happens, then we'll do 2 minutes per question. All right, so it's no pressure still. And if for some reason it took you longer, just send that when you send a screenshot, okay? So I don't want you to feel like now that we're virtual, you have to do 20 hours for any reason. This actually should be easier for us to do it this way, because you don't have as much travel, you don't have as much back and forth. You don't even have to wait as much for each other. We're really only going to be together for this 30 minutes. But I do want to, starting tomorrow, make sure that we can answer your questions. So this is going to be really fast to go over these 2 pages, kind of like we do in class. I'm just going to basically read it and we'll discuss it, right? So what we can do is you can write something in the chat if you want. If a question pops up and you just want to type it in there real quick, and then I'll open up the chat and answer the questions. You can also write it down, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit mute on everybody for like the 10 minutes that it takes to go over the page, just so that it can be silent. So the document was too large for me to send out an email. So we kind of came together as teachers and had this idea to just start a YouTube page where we're going to upload it onto YouTube because it can hold larger files. So what's going to happen, I think, is that every teacher's just going to get their own playlist. So you'll be able to just go into the morning class playlist, or it might have my name on it or something like that, and just watch, if you need to, rewatch any video, or this will be for the people who are kind of like absent from this, right? So if you make it to this, I think it's kind of self-explanatory if you're on here, but I want to say, like, maybe if we make it through 10 minutes of the lesson, that you are jotting down any notes, because or any questions, because the only thing is, once I start sharing the screen, I can't see everyone. So you can't do the regular, like, raise your hand and stuff like that. We have to find a way to still be live with your questions. Or if you have a question after you do the test and you need help, you can send that in the text. Okay, so I don't want you to feel like you're working on your own. Or for the people, I saw some of your quizzes. Again, if you're getting 80, 90, 100%, and you're good, right? Excuse me, that's my child banging on the door. See, this is what happens when you're teaching from home, right? So if you get 30, 40, 50, if you get anything less than the 70%, then if you have a question, I want to be able to help you, right? So the first level is look at the answer from Matthew Fun. The second level is we're going to work through it. So say bye. All right, so this would be the class I'm recording, right? Okay, so now I'm going to share the screen.
My foot. Put it in my foot. Oh, yeah, yeah. It's my
So we're starting with the complementary angles.
1994.
Let's see. So I'm just muting just so that this part will be a little bit more silent. Okay. So I'm also hiding the video because I saw last time that it's blocking the screen, of course, because it's on my screen. So after I go through the lesson, I'll put it back up so I won't be able to see you, which is why you're gonna write down any questions or put them in the chat, okay? So we're starting out on the complementary angles page, and I just Googled this, but let me go back. So technically we're working here on the geometry tab. We bypassed a couple of things that we're gonna get back to by the end of the week. So plane geometry is where we're coming back to, where we're gonna study the formulas for the two-dimensional shapes. And this is saying, you know, flat shapes, which is the names that we're already using, like triangle, square, rectangle, circle, some of the ones we've already used. The solid geometry is the three-dimensional shapes, which includes some height. So that makes a rectangle turn into a cube, or a square turn into a cube, a rectangle turn into a prism, a circle turn into a sphere. So we're gonna learn all of this vocabulary or refresh our memory. Last week, if you were here and you did Khan Academy, you did some of these things, which is just talking about space in the world. So from a dot to a line, to 3 lines making a triangle, and then it goes up to 4 lines, 5 lines, 6 lines, 7 lines, 8 lines, right, up to octagon and other shapes. And then now this three-dimensional is creating height, or something that is now a solid. So we passed by all of this, which we're coming back to get down to this section that was about angles. So we talked about angles last week, and we're coming back to these words here: acute, right, obtuse, straight, reflex, and the full rotation. We did a couple of these links, like degree, angles, angles on a straight line. And that's some of the things that we had already talked about, even though we weren't focused on geometry per se in the last session. But now what we're doing is the supplementary and the complementary angles. So if you need to find it from the geometry tab, you're going down to this section about angles, and it's the last two. So I'm just clicking on complementary angles first. This one is saying that the definition of complementary angles, which is two angles are complementary when they add up to 90 degrees. So it is going to add up to being a right angle. And this is something that we mentioned real quick. When there's a right angle, a lot of times there's not the number 90 in the box. It's actually, I'm sorry, in the angle, it's actually just a little box. So what you have to remember is that that means it's a perfect right angle and that the degrees are 90. So any angles are complementary when they add up to 90 or when they are a right angle, right? So this is saying, notice that together they make the right angle and it has the little box in there. That automatically means 90 degrees. So this one would be 40 plus 50. So this is similar to what we were doing last week. It's also just saying that by definition of the word, the angles don't have to be together. So like this example right here, the angles are together. And you're saying, oh, I see the box in the background. That means that this angle is 90 degrees. One is 40. If the other one wasn't labeled, I would know that it was 50 because it's a right angle and it's complementary. Here they're saying these two angles are complementary because they add up to be 90 degrees. So even though they're not together, they can still be complementary angles. So this section here is just for you to adjust and, move the angles around, but it's saying that it's always going to equal 90. So if you make this one 50, the other one has to be 40. If you make this one 33, the other one has to be 57. So you can just, as this is saying, drag the points and play around with it. It's also making another note about the right angle. And I think we talked about this too in class in person. But the right angled triangle means that this is now 3 lines making the shape of a triangle. It's a right angled triangle because this angle right here has the box and it's 90 degrees. So what this is saying is that the two non-right angles are complementary. And by definition, if you were to open up from right here and lay this part down and open this part up and lay it down, you're going to come back to the 180 straight line. So what you're memorizing about the triangle, which we're going to move towards the end of the week, is that the 3 internal angles of the triangle add up to be 180. So in this case, you can figure out a missing angle again by saying, oh, this one must be 90. If this one is 68, I know that the 3 internal angles are coming back to 180. So I can say that this one is 22 degrees, right? Coming down a little bit more, it's reminding you of something, I think we might have gone over this in spelling, but that this is really saying complementary as in completed, and not compliment as giving someone a compliment with a I, or giving someone something for free, saying that it's complementary. So again, that's just subtle. That's not really going to be on your math test, the difference between compliment with the E and compliment with the I, but it's just letting you know what word you're actually saying and to be careful about it if you have to fill in an answer or something like that. So we said a couple of times on your test, you might have an open-ended question where you have to type your answer. You're not going to get points off like that if you misspell compliment. But the goal is for you to know the difference between compliment as in match complete versus compliment as in free or saying something nice about someone, right? So coming down a little bit more, we're getting closer to the quiz. The 2 things that we're going to do is this complementary versus supplementary. So this is going to be the next link that we click on. Here's the quiz that you're going to click on after the class is done, and just send me the quiz results when you get down to question number 10. But here it's comparing the 2. So a supplementary angle are the angles that add up to 180. So here we just did complementary, which is adding up to 90. Supplementary is adding up to 180, which some people did those quizzes using 180 degrees last week. So this is telling you, for your definition purposes, a good way to remember the difference. So if you want to take some notes, this might be the thing to really take notes on, so that you make sure you answer the right question if you get a question like this. So you don't, if one of the answers is 90 and one of the answers is 180, if you get a question like that, what they're really testing you on again is not necessarily the math or the adding or subtracting to 90 and 180. It's going to be the definition of the two words. So how to remember which is which? It says you can think of C for complementary, and that it stands for corner. And then you can associate that with the right angle. So the little box that's in the corner is always 90 degrees. So if you're saying complementary corner,
How many questions go down?
for S or supplementary, you're saying straight, right? So you're gonna say S is supplementary, and that stands for a straight line, which is 180 degrees, right? So another note they're telling you is you can say when you're right, you get a compliment, and that's the compliment with the I again. Or you can think of supplements and say, someone is, let me see, it's not muted.
I'm about to mute it, that's me.
Okay, no problem. Then you can say supplement is extra, like your vitamins, right? So it's up to you which one of these you want to do, but if you get a question, it could be that you're getting the question between the difference between these two. So you want to make sure that you know, if it says, what are the supplementary angles, that you're picking the ones that are coming to 180. If the question says, what are the complementary angles, you're picking the ones that are coming to 90. So now I'm going to click here on this word, because that's what we're going to next. And it's basically going over what we just said, right? So the supplementary angles we talked about last week, here's the straight line. So this right here is one angle, that's 40 degrees. This right here, that's the obtuse. So this one that's less than 90 is acute. This one that's more than 90 is obtuse. But the blue is together, they make 180 degrees. So that's what this is saying. Two angles are supplementary when they add up to 180 degrees. And they're saying 140 and 40 is 180. Notice that together they make a straight line. But just like complementary angles, they don't have to be together to be supplementary. So if you come down, there's another tab for you to adjust the angles again. And they're giving you that same reminder that C is going to be for complementary and stand for corner, which is going to be right angle 90 degrees. S is going to be supplementary, standing for straight, which is the straight line, 180 degrees. And then here you have the quiz again. So if I click on question number 1, you'll see two angles are supplementary. That's what they're telling you first. So this is what you're accepting in the word problem. One of them is 31 degrees. What is the size of the other angle? So all you're really doing is saying, I know the definition of the word, and I'm going to subtract from the straight line degree, which is 180. So also, real quick, in Khan Academy, this lesson is loaded right now, where it's going to go over him going over the definition again. The complementary and supplementary angles are together in this lesson, as opposed to separate, like Math is Fun. So this video you can see is 8 minutes. So what I'm doing is I'm rounding the minutes up, right? I'm going to say this is 10 minutes in case you need to pause it, rewind it, or you want to take some notes from it. Then when you come down and you practice, you're now on the tab with the little pencil. This is where you're going to do these couple of problems, practice again, and then there's the review. So I'm pretty sure that some people have already done vertical angles, but there's still a whole section of lessons in Khan Academy. So here, somewhere, I'll come back to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unmute everybody, stop sharing the screen, and we can go over a question if you wrote one down, or any comments. And let's see, so you can unmute yourself. I'm hitting unmute all, but sometimes if you've already muted yourself, you might have to unmute yourself again. So does anybody have any questions about those two angles, complementary angles or supplementary angles?
Yeah, you know, every little bit of money they get.
No problem. No
Okay.
question.
So how's it going, Zoila?
All right.
Have you gone? Did you go to Aztec or Khan Academy yet?
Just let this go down.
Not yet. So let me just say this too. If you want to do anything from last week, you can still do it. So if you want to, now let me say, it's understandable if you may have had a challenge or you didn't get the text messages or you got them and you were doing something else. I completely understand. But if you want to do something from last week and you have time to do it, you can do it if you want to. And I will just change that attendance spreadsheet and give you credit for last week. So I think, again, like once everybody gets the system down, so I'm going to make a suggestion of the system too. Once everybody gets the system down, it should be less. It should be easier to work this way. Because again, you don't have to leave your house at 8 o'clock, right? To make sure that you find parking downtown and all of that type of stuff. So once you get into a system, you might be able to say, I can do the 2 hours that we're doing right now together. I can do this quiz afterwards because I'm already on the computer. And then I could do an extra half hour from last week. So some people did at least like the 12 to 15 hours from just, I guess, working in Aztec and that type of thing. If you weren't able to, you can do something towards it now. So because we're kind of doing this every day, they're going to update your attendance. So you don't have to worry about it. So I don't want you to feel behind because we've been talking about this for like, some people were on it on Monday, but technically from the Zoom calls, we've been kind of talking about it and trying to guide in a slower way since Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So if you weren't able to make it and this is your first time, it's no problem. I can give you support through text message if you're working on it. And if you need to, we can set up a separate Zoom. All right, so if you find that you are not getting them right and you're at the 30, 40, 50% and you don't understand why you're getting them wrong, because you're reading what's on Math is Fun, then I'm gonna send you a message back when I see your quiz that we can either set up a separate Zoom to kind of go over tutoring, or you can send me some questions, right? So any questions about that? Okay, so now what you're gonna do is I'm gonna send you an email in a couple, like in an hour or so, that's gonna have the digital log for you to track up what you're doing so that you can do it easier and do it live, right? So what we're gonna say is from now, right, about 10:30, you're gonna do 2 quizzes. So I'm gonna say again, by the time you do the 2 quizzes, that's 20 minutes. But then also, if you need to read why you got one wrong, that's a couple more minutes, right? So I'm rounding these 2 quizzes again to 30 minutes in case you want to write notes from the pages that we just read or go over a question more than once. So again, no pressure. The 1 question per minute is just a suggestion that I think we're all going to be on a roundabout same page. But like we said last week, if something takes you longer, then you just want to say that, right? That would be the purpose of the log. I redid the Math is Fun, so I spent an extra 30 minutes, right? Or whatever it is that you're doing. So my suggestion that's going to come through is do something on Khan Academy so that you're kind of familiar with the vocabulary. Come on to this to do Math is Fun, 30 minutes together. And then from 10:30 to 11, do the quizzes for Math is Fun. That will automatically give everybody 2 hours. If you did something before the call, you do the call and you do the quizzes afterwards. That last hour, you can do what you want. I know a lot of people have done different subjects and don't need to do all of the subjects. So you don't have to do all of the reading if you're done with the reading test. You don't have to do all of the essays if you're done with the writing test, right? So what you want to do is say from 11 to 12 or any other time, because I know my children are in the background, your children might be in the background. You have to help your children with their homework too, right? So any other hour that you can do work, that's what you want to put on the log. If you want to say you have to take a break to help your children from 11 to 12 or make lunch or do whatever else you have to do, then if you can come back between 1 and 1:30, put that on the log that you were typing for 15 minutes and you did speed reading for 15 minutes, right? So we're just trying to get a little bit of a rhythm so that you stay motivated and that hopefully when you come back to school, whether it's May something, June 1st, you're just ready to take your test still, you know, and you don't have to think that this was really like a break in your goals like we already talked about at the top of the session, right? I know everybody's ready to get to the next thing, right? So I think you can actually learn more like this, and I want to help us do that, like be able to go faster, be able to go deeper, have more videos and that type of thing. So anybody have any comments?
No.
Anybody think of
No.
a name for the class?
No.
Text it to me. I think I got like 2 or 3, so we're gonna do a little vote and see which everybody wants to pick. Okay, so then I see, wait, there might be something in the chat. Let me see. Okay, no problem. And I'm gonna send everybody this video. So I will see you tomorrow at 10 and see if you can do the Khan Academy, see if you have any questions coming from this. We'll talk about angles a little bit more, and then we're gonna move into square, rectangle, triangle, probably by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So if you have any questions, you can send it to me on Remind, just a text message. And if you need to, we can set up a separate Zoom so I can help you go through the problems one by one. And if you're on a laptop, you can share your screen with me as well if you're on Zoom. I'm not sure how to do it from a cell phone, but we'll work it out. Even if you have to send me a photo, we'll work it out. So I just want you to know that, you know, I really appreciate you coming on and sticking to your goals. This is very admirable of you to keep going, even in the midst of running your households and all of that. And you can always reach out to me privately if you have any challenges or any questions, but keep checking your text message, keep checking your email at least like once a day, because I'm also forwarding messages that come from Miss Gould or from Mercer County. So have a great day, everybody.
You
And
too.
I'll see you tomorrow at 10.
All
Have a
right.
good one.
Tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.